The starship moved through space like a silver needle threading through black cloth. Inside the massive vessel, hundreds of crew members from different worlds worked together. Some had blue skin, others had scales, and a few looked almost human. This was the Starbound Dawn, a coalition warship that protected the peaceful planets of the galaxy. Lieutenant Kira Velmont stood in the training room, her tall frame covered in light combat armor. She was Valorian, a member of one of the most advanced races in known space. Her silver hair fell to her shoulders, and her purple eyes scanned the room with confidence. Valorians were known throughout the galaxy as superior warriors and strategists. They believed themselves to be better than most other species, especially humans. Kira had grown up hearing stories about human weakness. They were emotional creatures who relied on luck more than skill. They broke easily in combat and made decisions based on feelings instead of logic. Her mother, Admiral Lissa Velmont, had taught her that Valorians earned their place at the top through discipline and superior breeding. Kira believed every word. Today, she had a chance to prove it. The doors to the training room slid open with a soft hiss. A man walked in, and Kira felt her lip curl in disgust. He was human. He looked to be in his late 40s, with short brown hair touched with gray at the temples. His face was weathered and scarred, telling stories of battles past. He wore a simple military uniform with minimal decorations, though Kira noticed a few medals she didn't recognize. "Lieutenant Velmont," the man said with a slight nod. His voice was deep and calm. "I'm Jake Morrison. I'll be serving as tactical advisor for your unit." Kira crossed her arms over her chest. A human tactical advisor. How desperate has command become? Jake's expression didn't change, though something flickered in his dark eyes. It might have been amusement. "I have 25 years of combat experience across 12 different war zones." Command thought that might be useful. "Experience means nothing if the foundation is weak," Kira replied coldly. "Humans are physically inferior to most combat species. Your reaction times are slower. Your strength is limited. You compensate with weapons because you cannot win with your bodies." Several other crew members had gathered to watch the exchange. A few looked uncomfortable. Others seemed curious about how the human would respond to such direct insults. Jake simply smiled. It was a small, tired smile that somehow made Kira even more angry. "You might be right, Lieutenant. Maybe you'd like to test that theory?" Kira's eyes narrowed. "Are you challenging me to a sparring match?" "I'm offering to train with you," Jake corrected. "If you think humans are so inferior, it should be easy for you to demonstrate. Unless you're worried." The crowd around them grew larger. Kira knew she couldn't back down now. Her pride wouldn't allow it, and neither would her reputation. She was considered one of the best young fighters in the Valorian fleet. Defeating a human would be simple. "Fine," she said. "No weapons. Hand-to-hand combat. Traditional rules. Whatever you prefer." Jake agreed. They moved to the center of the training mat. The other crew members formed a circle around them, whispering to each other. Kira could hear the betting starting. Everyone assumed she would win quickly. So did she. The combat computer announced the start of the match. Kira moved first, launching herself forward with the enhanced speed her species was known for. She aimed a strike at Jake's midsection, expecting him to barely react in time. Instead, he sidestepped smoothly, redirecting her momentum with a gentle push that sent her stumbling past him. She recovered quickly, spinning to face him. Jake stood in a relaxed stance, hands open at his sides. He wasn't even in a proper combat position. "You're fast," he commented. "But speed without control is just flailing." Kira attacked again, this time with a combination she had practiced thousands of times. Strike, strike, sweep, grapple. It was a standard Valorian technique that used superior speed and strength to overwhelm opponents before they could adapt. Jake blocked the first strike, deflected the second, stepped over her sweep, and twisted out of her grapple attempt. Every movement was minimal and precise. He wasn't matching her speed, he was predicting her movements. How? Kira breathed, frustrated. Your technique is excellent, Jake said calmly. But you telegraph every move. You commit fully to each strike because you expect your natural advantages to carry you through. Against a slower opponent, that works. Against someone who can read you, it doesn't. Kira felt heat rise to her face. She was being lectured by a human, in front of her entire unit. This was unacceptable. She abandoned formal technique and attacked with pure aggression, using her full Valorian speed. Strike after strike, she pressed forward, not giving Jake room to breathe or think. Surely raw power would overcome his predictions. Jake defended, his movements becoming sharper and faster. He still wasn't attacking, just defending. But Kira noticed something that made her blood run cold. Some of his defensive moves were Valorian techniques. Advanced ones that even she hadn't fully mastered. How did a human know them? Her distraction cost her. Jake caught her wrist mid-strike, pivoted, and used her own momentum to flip her onto her back on the mat. The impact knocked the wind from her lungs. Before she could react, Jake had her in a submission hold that immobilized her completely. Yield? He asked quietly. Kira wanted to refuse. She wanted to keep fighting until she won. But the hold was perfect. She couldn't break it without injuring herself. Through gritted teeth, she said, "I yield." Jake released her immediately and stood, offering his hand to help her up. Kira ignored it and climbed to her feet on her own. Her face burned with shame. Around them, the crowd was silent. No one had expected this outcome. "Good match," Jake said sincerely. "You're very skilled. With a few adjustments to your technique, you'd be nearly unstoppable." "I don't need advice from a human," Kira snapped. She turned and walked toward the exit, desperate to escape the stares of her crew. "Lieutenant," Jake called after her. His voice was sad somehow. "Being skilled doesn't mean you can't improve. Being strong doesn't mean you can't learn." Kira didn't respond. She left the training room and headed straight for her quarters. Once inside, with the door sealed, she finally allowed herself to show emotion. She punched the wall, leaving a small dent in the metal. How had a human defeated her? It wasn't possible. Valorians were superior. Everyone knew that. Everyone said that. Her mother had promised her that. But Jake Morrison had moved like a warrior who had trained for decades. He knew techniques he shouldn't know. He fought with a calm wisdom that spoke of countless battles survived. Kira sat on her bed and put her head in her hands. For the first time in her life, she questioned what she had been taught about humans, and for the first time, she wondered what other lies she might have been told. In his own quarters across the ship, Jake Morrison stood before a small photograph he kept hidden in his locker. It showed a younger version of himself standing beside a beautiful Valorian woman with silver hair and purple eyes. They were both smiling. Both in military uniforms from a different era. Jake touched the photograph gently, his finger tracing the woman's face. Then, he looked at a second, smaller photo, tucked behind the first. It showed a baby with silver hair and the faintest purple tint to her eyes. "She's grown into a fine warrior, Lissa," Jake whispered to the photographs. "Just like you said she would. She has your strength and your pride. Maybe too much pride." He closed the locker carefully and locked it. Tomorrow, he would continue training her unit. He would continue being patient with Kira's insults and mockery. He would continue watching his daughter from a distance, as he had done for 25 years. It was all he was allowed to do. 3 weeks had passed since the training room incident. Kira tried to avoid Jake Morrison as much as possible, but the ship's commander seemed determined to throw them together. Every mission briefing, every tactical planning session, every training exercise placed them on the same team. The Starbound Dawn had received urgent orders to investigate the Outer Rim colonies. 7 settlements had gone silent in the past 2 months. No distress calls, no explanations. Just silence. When scout ships arrived, they found the colonies abandoned. Buildings stood empty. Equipment was left running. But every living being had vanished. Commander Ellis, a stern, four-armed Krellian who led the ship, assembled the investigation team. Kira stood at attention in the briefing room, hoping she would be assigned to work with anyone except the human. Her hopes died quickly. Lieutenant Velmont, you'll lead the ground team, Commander Ellis announced. Morrison will serve as your second-in-command and tactical advisor. Kira's jaw tightened, but she nodded. Yes, Commander. Jake simply said. Understood. The other team members included Chen, a tech specialist with blue scales and 6 fingers on each hand, and Lieutenant Brooks, a human woman who specialized in xenobiology. Kira wasn't thrilled about having 2 humans on the team, but she kept her complaints to herself this time. They took a shuttle down to the nearest abandoned colony, a mining settlement called Haven's Rest. The planet was cold and rocky, with thin atmosphere that required breathing masks for most species. Valorians could handle it without assistance, which Kira considered another mark of her people's superiority. She noticed Jake didn't use a mask either. His breathing seemed normal, despite the thin air. Another odd thing about this human, the colony was exactly as reported. Empty. Lights still glowed in windows. Mining equipment sat idle, but powered on. A meal was half-eaten on a table in the common hall, as if someone had simply stood up and walked away in the middle of eating. This is creepy, Brooks muttered, scanning the area with her equipment. There's no sign of violence. No blood, no damage to structures. It's like everyone just disappeared. Chen was examining the colony's computer systems. All the logs stop at the same moment. 14:37 local time. 32 days ago. No shutdown sequence, no warning, just a hard stop. Kira walked through the empty streets, her instincts screaming that something was wrong. She had seen abandoned places before, but this felt different. This felt wrong, on a deep level she couldn't explain. Jake moved beside her, silent and alert. His eyes constantly scanned their surroundings, taking in every detail. Kira noticed he moved like a predator. Weight balanced. Ready to react to any threat. What do you think happened here? Kira asked before she could stop herself. She didn't want to ask his opinion, but something about the situation made her want input. Something fast, Jake replied quietly. Whatever took them didn't give them time to react or resist. See how everything is in mid-use? They didn't have even seconds of warning. Kira hated that his assessment matched her own. Could it be a weapon? Some kind of beam that teleports people away? Maybe, or maybe something that makes them want to leave. Jake pointed to footprints in the dust, near a building. Look at those tracks. They all lead in the same direction, toward the edge of the colony. They walked away. They weren't dragged or carried. They followed the tracks to the colony's perimeter. There, the footprints simply stopped, as if the people had walked to that exact spot and vanished into air. We need to set up camp for the night and continue investigation tomorrow, Kira decided. Chen, see if you can recover any video footage from the security systems. Brooks, analyze soil and air samples. Morrison and I will secure the perimeter. The team split up to handle their tasks. Kira found herself alone with Jake as they checked the colony's outer boundaries. The sun was setting, painting the rocky landscape in shades of orange and purple. You've been avoiding me, Jake said as they walked. I've been busy, Kira replied coldly. Because I beat you in sparring? Kira's temper flared. You didn't beat me. You got lucky. Jake stopped walking and turned to face her. Kira, I've fought in more battles than you've lived years. That wasn't luck. That was experience and training. Don't call me Kira, she snapped. You haven't earned the right to use my first name. And I don't care about your experience. Humans are inferior fighters. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows. Something changed in Jake's expression. The usual patient amusement faded, replaced by something harder. Is that what your mother taught you? Kira stepped closer, getting in his face despite him being taller. My mother is Admiral Lissa Velmont, one of the greatest warriors in Valorian history. She knows the truth about species hierarchy. Valorians are at the top. Humans are near the bottom. And what about mixed species? Jake asked quietly. Where do they fall in your hierarchy? Mixed species are rare and usually genetic mistakes, Kira said, repeating what she'd been taught. Most species can't successfully interbreed. And those that do, create offspring, usually produce weak children who belong to neither world. Jake looked away, staring at the horizon. That's a cruel way to view people who had no choice in their birth. It's realistic, Kira insisted. The galaxy has natural orders. Some species are meant to lead. Others are meant to follow. Your mother really taught you that? Jake's voice was very quiet now. My mother taught me the truth. She's never lied to me. Kira felt defensive suddenly, though she didn't know why. She raised me alone after my father died in battle. She taught me everything about being a warrior and about the galaxy's realities. Jake was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was thick with emotion. Your father must have been a remarkable man. He was Valorian, Kira said proudly. A hero who died protecting others. My mother said, I have his eyes and his determination. I'm sure he would be very proud of you, Jake said softly. Before Kira could respond, her communicator buzzed. Chen's voice came through urgently. Lieutenant, you need to see this. I found something in the video footage. They hurried back to the command center where Chen had set up his equipment. On the screen, security footage showed the colony's main square. People were going about their normal activities, working, talking, laughing. Then they all stopped at once. Every single person froze in place for 3 seconds. When they moved again, their expressions were blank. In perfect unison, they all turned and began walking toward the colony's edge. No panic, no confusion, just calm walking. What in the world's? Brooks whispered. Some kind of mind control, Jake said. Something that can affect entire populations at once. Kira felt a chill run down her spine. If whatever did this is still in the area, and we're exposed, it could take us too. We need to leave, Chen said nervously. Call the ship, get picked up, report this to command. No, Jake said firmly. Everyone turned to look at him. If we leave, the entity or weapon or whatever this is will just keep taking more colonies. We need to find out what it is and how to stop it. That's not our mission, Chen argued. Our mission is investigation and reporting. Morrison's right, Kira admitted reluctantly. If this is a weapon, we need to understand it. If it's a creature, we need to neutralize it. They spent the next several hours reviewing all available data and setting up detection equipment around their camp. As night fell completely, the temperature dropped. The team gathered around a portable heater in the common hall. Brooks fell asleep first, exhausted from analyzing samples. Chen dozed off while running calculations. That left Kira and Jake awake, taking first watch. You know Valorian combat techniques, Kira said abruptly. The question had been bothering her for weeks. Advanced ones. How? Jake stared into the heater's glow. I trained with a Valorian warrior for several years. Best fighter I ever met. She taught me that fighting isn't about species advantages. It's about understanding yourself and your opponent. She? Kira asked. A female Valorian trained a human? That's almost unheard of. She was unusual. Jake agreed. A sad smile crossed his face. She didn't believe in species hierarchy. She thought every person had value, regardless of where they came from. What happened to her? We were separated. Military orders. I haven't seen her in 25 years. Jake's expression was distant, lost in memory. She had to make an impossible choice between duty and her heart. She chose duty. Kira found herself curious despite her usual contempt. Did you love her? Jake looked at her for a long moment. More than anything, in this universe. Still, do. Humans and Valorians can't successfully pair, Kira stated. It's biologically improbable and socially forbidden. Improbable doesn't mean impossible, Jake replied quietly. And just because something is forbidden doesn't mean it's wrong. They sat in silence after that. Kira found herself watching Jake, really looking at him. For the first time, the way he moved was hauntingly familiar. The set of his shoulders, the way his hands rested, even the way he tilted his head when thinking. It reminded her of someone, though she couldn't place who. You should rest, Jake said. Valorians need less sleep than humans, Kira pointed out. You should rest. Jake smiled again, that same tired, knowing smile. Maybe. But I've had practice staying awake. Old soldier habits. Kira found herself almost liking him in that moment. Almost. She pushed the feeling down and closed her eyes, though she remained alert. As she drifted into light sleep, her last thought was wondering why Jake Morrison seemed so sad when he looked at her. The morning brought no answers, only more mysteries. Chen discovered that all 7 silent colonies had been taken at exactly 14:37, a local time. Despite being in different time zones, whatever force was responsible coordinated across vast distances with perfect timing. The starbound Dawn had moved on to investigate another abandoned colony, while Kira's team continued searching Haven's Rest. They split into pairs to cover more ground. Brooks went with Chen to examine the mining operations underground. That left Kira and Jake to search the residential sector. They moved through empty homes, finding more evidence of lives interrupted mid-action. A child's toy sat in the middle of a playroom. A shower was still running in one bathroom, water long since turned cold. Books lay open on tables, the readers gone. This whole situation feels personal, Jake commented as they searched a family dwelling. Like whatever did this specifically wanted these people, not their resources or their land. You think they're still alive? Kira asked. I hope so. But I've seen enough wars to know that hope and reality don't always match. They were searching the colony administrator's office when Kira found the locked computer terminal. It took Chen 20 minutes to remotely hack it from his position underground. But eventually the system opened. Kira began scrolling through files, looking for anything that might explain the disappearances. Most of it was routine colony business, supply requisitions, mining reports, personnel records. Then Kira found a hidden folder marked with security encryption. She opened it. The files inside made her blood turn to ice. They were classified military documents from 25 years ago. Files about something called the Unity Scandal, involving illegal interspecies relationships between military personnel. The Valorian High Command had apparently discovered several secret relationships between Valorian officers and members of other species, particularly humans. The files detailed investigations, forced separations, and in some cases, court-martial proceedings. Kira's hands shook as she read about the punishments. Officers stripped of rank, soldiers dishonorably discharged, families torn apart. One name appeared repeatedly throughout the files. Admiral Lissa Velmont, Kira's mother. No, Kira whispered. This can't be right. She opened the specific file with her mother's name. The document was heavily redacted, with entire sections blacked out. But what remained was enough to make Kira's world collapse. Her mother had been involved with a human soldier, a warrior named Jake Morrison. They had served together during the Frontier Wars 25 years ago. They had fallen in love despite regulations forbidding it, and they had produced a child together. The file mentioned a daughter, a hybrid child with both Valorian and human DNA. The Valorian High Command had given Admiral Lissa an ultimatum. Give up the child to be raised in a neutral facility, or keep the child but end all contact with the human father. If she wanted to maintain her military career, the relationship had to end, and the child had to be raised as purely Valorian. The file ended with a note that Admiral Lissa chose her career and her daughter. Jake Morrison was ordered to never contact them again, under penalty of imprisonment. He accepted the terms. The daughter's name was listed as Kira Velmont. That's impossible, Kira said out loud. Her voice echoed in the empty office. I'm not half human. I can't be. But pieces were falling into place. Her slightly faster healing than other Valorians. The way she sometimes made decisions based on emotion rather than pure logic. Something her teachers had criticized. Her eyes, which were purple like her mother's but shaped differently. Her height, slightly shorter than average for Valorians. And Jake Morrison. The human who knew Valorian fighting techniques. Who looked at her with such sadness. Who spoke about a Valorian warrior he had loved and lost. Lieutenant, are you all right? Jake's voice came from the doorway. Kira spun around, the computer screen still glowing behind her. Jake stood there, and suddenly she saw him differently. The shape of his jaw was similar to her own. His eyes were the same dark brown she saw when she looked in a mirror. His hands had the same long fingers she had always thought came from her mother's side. Tell me the truth, Kira demanded. Her voice was shaking. Right now, tell me the truth. Jake's expression changed. He glanced at the computer screen, and his face went pale. Kira, I can explain. Don't lie to me. She was shouting now. Emotion overriding training. Are you Jake Morrison? The human from these files? Jake was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. Yes. One. Yes. And my mother, Admiral Lissa Velmont, you knew her? Yes. Were you involved with her? Yes. Kira felt tears burning in her eyes, something Valorians were taught to never show. Am I your daughter? Jake closed his eyes. A single tear ran down his cheek. Yes. You are my daughter. The world spun. Kira grabbed the desk to steady herself. My whole life is a lie. My mother told me my father died as a hero before I was born. She told me I was pure Valorian. She told me humans were inferior. And you've been on this ship for weeks, watching me insult and mock your entire species, watching me hate humans while being half human myself. Why didn't you tell me? I wasn't allowed to, Jake said, pain clear in his voice. The agreement I made with Valorian Command was that I could never reveal myself to you, never contact you, never interfere in your life. They said it was for your protection. Protection from what? The truth? Protection from prejudice, Jake replied. Kira, if people knew you were half human, your career would be over. Valorian society doesn't accept hybrids. Your mother wanted to give you every advantage. She wanted you to succeed without the burden of your heritage. So she lied to me for 25 years. Kira felt rage building inside her. And you let her. You just stayed away and watched from a distance, like some kind of ghost. What choice did I have? Jake's voice rose slightly. They threatened to take you away completely if I didn't comply. At least this way, I could see you occasionally. I could watch you grow up, even if it was from afar. You had no right, Kira shouted. You had no right to make that choice for me. I was trying to do what was best for you. What's best for me is the truth. Kira swept her arm across the desk, scattering papers and equipment. All my life, I've believed a lie. I've built my identity on being Valorian, on being superior, on being better than humans. And now, I find out I am human. Half of me is the very thing I've been taught to despise. Jake stepped forward, reaching out to her. Kira, being human isn't something to despise. Don't touch me. She backed away from him. I don't know who you are. I don't know who I am anymore. Her communicator buzzed urgently. Chen's voice came through. Panicked. Lieutenant! Brooks and I found something in the mines. There's some kind of alien device down here. It's active, and it's doing something to our minds. We need immediate extraction. 1. Kira grabbed her weapon, grateful for the distraction from the emotional chaos. We're coming. Hold your position. She ran from the office without looking back at Jake, but she heard his footsteps behind her as he followed. Even now, Even after everything, he was coming to protect her. They met Chen and Brooks at the mine entrance. Both looked terrified, their eyes wide and pupils dilated. Brooks was bleeding from her nose. "There's a machine down there," Chen gasped. "Ancient tech, maybe thousands of years old. It broadcasts some kind of signal that affects neural patterns. It's what took the colonists." "Why didn't it affect you immediately?" Jake asked, checking Brooks's vital signs. "We don't know. Maybe distance. Maybe we're partially resistant. But it's getting stronger. We could feel it pulling at our minds, telling us to come closer, to join with something. We need to destroy it," Kira decided. "Or shut it down," Jake countered. "If we destroy it without understanding it, we might never get the colonists back." They argued briefly about the best approach before deciding to try shutting it down first. Armed and alert, they descended into the mine. The temperature dropped as they went deeper. The walls began showing strange markings that glowed with faint blue light. "Those aren't from the colonists," Brooks whispered. "Those are alien script, predating any known civilization." The tunnel opened into a massive cavern. In the center stood a device that hurt to look at directly. It seemed to shift and change shape, existing in more dimensions than the eye could process. A low humming filled the air, making their teeth ache. Around the device stood the missing colonists. Hundreds of them, arranged in perfect concentric circles, all facing the device. Their eyes were open, but empty. They swayed slightly, as if moved by an invisible wind. "They're alive," Jake breathed. "They're still alive." Kira felt the pull immediately. The device was calling to her, promising peace and unity and an end to confusion. All she had to do was walk forward and join the others. All her problems would disappear. She wouldn't have to face the truth about her heritage or her parents' lies. She could just let go. She took a step toward the device. Strong hands grabbed her shoulders. Jake pulled her back, his voice urgent in her ear. "Kira, fight it. Don't listen to the machine. Let me go," she said dreamily. "It's offering death." Jake spun her around to face him. "Kira, listen to my voice. You're stronger than this. You're a warrior. Fight it. 8. Fight it." His words cut through the fog in her mind. Kira blinked, seeing Jake's frightened face clearly. Chen and Brooks were also walking toward the device, their expressions blank. "Jake," Kira gasped. "The others." Together they grabbed Chen and Brooks, dragging them away from the device's influence. The four of them stumbled back into the tunnel, out of direct line of sight with the machine. "We need to contact the ship," Jake said. "This is beyond our capabilities. We need specialists and equipment to safely shut that thing down and free those people." Kira nodded, still shaking off the device's mental grip. As they climbed back toward the surface, she found herself leaning on Jake's strength. He stayed close to her, ready to catch her if she fell. Despite everything she had learned, despite the lies and the anger and the confusion, one truth remained clear. This man, this human, her father, had just saved her life, and he had been protecting her all along, in the only way he was allowed. The Starbound Dawn arrived 6 hours later, with specialists and equipment to deal with the ancient device. Kira's team was immediately sent to medical for evaluation. The device had left traces in their neural patterns, though nothing permanent. They would recover fully within a day. Kira sat in her quarters after being cleared by medical, staring at the wall. She had requested privacy, and her crew had respected it. But she knew she couldn't hide forever. She needed answers. Real answers this time. She opened a secure communication channel to Valorian High Command and requested an immediate call with Admiral Lisa Velmont. It took 20 minutes for the connection to establish. When her mother's face appeared on the screen, Kira felt a fresh wave of anger and hurt. Admiral Lisa looked older than Kira remembered. Her silver hair was pulled back severely, and her purple eyes were tired. She was in her office, wearing her full military uniform. "Kira," her mother said with surprise. "I wasn't expecting to hear from you during your mission. Is everything all right?" "No," Kira replied coldly. "Everything is not all right. I found classified files today. Files about something called the Unity Scandal. Files with your name in them." Her mother's face went pale. "Kira, can you explain why you lied to me? My entire life?" Kira's voice was shaking. "Can you explain why you told me my father was a dead Valorian hero when he's actually a living human soldier? Can you explain why you raised me to hate the very species that makes up half of my DNA?" Lissa closed her eyes. When she opened them again, tears were visible. Kira had never seen her mother cry. "Who told you?" Jake Morrison is on my ship. I found the files and confronted him. He confirmed everything." Kira leaned closer to the screen. "Is it true? Is he my father?" "Yes," Lissa whispered. "Jake is your father." The confirmation hurt, even though Kira had already known. Hearing her mother admit, it made it real, in a way nothing else had. "Why?" Kira asked. "Why lie to me? Why make me hate humans when I am one?" Lisa took a deep breath, composing herself. "Because I was trying to protect you. Kira, you have to understand the situation. 25 years ago, interspecies relationships were completely forbidden in the Valorian military. When Command discovered Jake and me, they wanted to separate us and take you away to be raised in a neutral facility, neither Valorian nor human. Maybe that would have been better than living a lie." "No," Lissa said firmly. "Those facilities are terrible places. Children raised there belong to no culture, no people. They're isolated and studied like lab experiments. I couldn't let that happen to you. So you chose to keep me but lie to me instead. I chose to give you a chance at a normal life." Lisa's voice rose. "Kira, Valorian society is not kind to hybrids. If people knew your heritage, you would have been shunned, mocked, denied opportunities. Your entire life would have been a struggle against prejudice. So you made me the one with prejudice instead," Kira shot back. "You taught me to look down on humans. You taught me they were inferior. Do you know how that makes me feel now? I've been hating half of myself." "I never wanted you to hate humans," Lissa said quietly. "I thought if you acted completely Valorian, thought like a Valorian, no one would ever question your heritage." "And what about my father? What about Jake?" Kira demanded. "Did you even care what this cost him?" Pain crossed Lissa's face. "It cost him everything. Jake loved you from the moment you were born. He wanted to be part of your life so badly, but we both knew that if he stayed, it would destroy any chance you had at a normal future. So, he agreed to the terms. He gave you up so you could have a better life. He shouldn't have had to make that choice." "You're right," Lissa agreed. "None of us should have been in that position. But we were, and we did the best we could with impossible circumstances." Kira felt tears running down her face now. She didn't bother wiping them away. "You should have told me when I was old enough to understand. You should have trusted me with the truth." "Maybe," Lissa admitted. "But by the time you were old enough, you had already built your entire identity around being Valorian. I didn't know how to tell you without destroying everything you believed about yourself. I was a coward, Kira. I kept waiting for the right moment, and it never came." They sat in silence for a moment, both crying. Finally, Kira asked the question that had been burning in her heart. "Did you love him, Jake?" Lisa's expression softened. "More than anything in this universe. I still do. Every day for 25 years, I've thought about him. Wondered how he was. If he was safe. If he was happy. I gave up the love of my life for my career and to protect you. It's the hardest thing I've ever done." "Why didn't you fight harder?" Kira asked. "Why didn't you refuse their ultimatum?" "Because I was young and scared and didn't know how to fight the entire military system," Lissa replied. "And because Jake asked me not to. He said you deserved a mother and a future." He said he would bear the cost if it meant you could thrive. That's the kind of man he is. Kira. That's your father. Defer. Kira thought about Jake's patience over the past weeks. The way he had endured her insults without anger. The way he had protected her in the mine. The sad way he looked at her sometimes. He's been watching me, Kira said. All these years, has he been following my career? He knows everything about you, Lissa confirmed. Every achievement, every award, every promotion. I send him updates regularly, even though we're not supposed to have contact. He's so proud of you, Kira. He tells me all the time how you've exceeded every hope he had. But I've hated humans. I've been cruel to them. To him. Kira felt sick. How can he be proud of someone like that? Because he sees past the hatred to who you really are, Lissa said gently. He knows the prejudice was taught to you. He knows your heart is good. And he knows that now that you have the truth, you'll be able to choose who you want to be. I don't know who I am anymore, Kira admitted. Everything I thought I knew about myself is wrong. You're my daughter, Lissa said firmly. You're Jake's daughter. You're a skilled warrior, a good leader, and a person with the strength to face hard truths. That hasn't changed. You're just learning that you're more than you thought you were. I'm half human, Kira said, testing the words. They still felt strange. You're half Valorian and half human, Lissa corrected, which means you have the advantages of both species. Valorian speed and endurance. Human adaptability and emotional depth. You're not less than either species, Kira. You're more. Kira wanted to believe that. But 25 years of teaching couldn't be undone in one conversation. I need time to process this. I understand. But Kira, please talk to Jake. He deserves a chance to explain his side. He's carried this burden for so long. I don't know what to say to him. Start with the truth, Lissa advised. Tell him how you feel. He'll listen. He's good at that. They ended the call shortly after. Kira sat alone with her thoughts for another hour. Finally, she stood up and left her quarters. She walked through the ship's corridors until she reached Jake's door. She knocked. Come in, Jake's voice called. Kira entered to find Jake sitting at a small desk, looking at a photo. When he saw her, he quickly tucked it away, but not before Kira caught a glimpse. It showed a much younger Jake, standing with a younger Lissa. They both looked happy. Kira, Jake said, standing up. I wasn't sure if you'd want to see me. I talked to my mother, Kira said. She confirmed everything. Jake nodded slowly. I know this must be overwhelming. That's an understatement. Kira stayed near the door, not ready to come fully into the room. My whole life has been a lie. Everything I believed about myself, about my heritage, about humans. It was all false. Not everything, Jake said gently. You're still the skilled warrior you always were. You're still intelligent and determined. Those things are real, regardless of your DNA. But I don't know how to be half human, Kira admitted. I was raised to think humans were weak and emotional and inferior. How do I accept that I'm part of something I was taught to despise? Jake walked closer, moving slowly as if approaching a frightened animal. By learning that what you were taught was wrong. Humans aren't weak, Kira. We're different. We feel deeply. We adapt quickly. We persist against impossible odds. Those aren't weaknesses. They're strengths. My mother said you gave me up to protect me. I did, Jake confirmed. It was the hardest decision I ever made. But I wanted you to have a chance at a good life, even if it meant I couldn't be part of it. That's not fair. Kira whispered. You shouldn't have had to choose. 9. No. Jake agreed. But I would make the same choice again. Because look at you. You're a lieutenant on one of the fleet's best ships. You're respected and skilled. You've had opportunities that you might not have had if everyone knew you were a hybrid. I don't regret giving you that chance. Kira felt fresh tears coming. I've been horrible to you. I've insulted humans constantly. I called your species inferior right to your face. How can you not hate me?" Jake's expression was soft and sad. "Because I know it wasn't really you talking. It was the programming your mother had to give you to keep you safe. And because I love you, Kira, I've loved you from the moment you were born. Nothing you say or do will ever change that. And I don't deserve that," Kira said, her voice breaking. "Love isn't about deserving," Jake replied. "It just is." He opened his arms slightly, offering a hug but not forcing it. Kira stood frozen for a moment. Years of training telling her that showing emotion was weakness, that trusting humans was foolish. Then she thought about Jake pulling her away from the ancient device. She thought about him enduring her cruelty with patience. She thought about him loving her from a distance for 25 years. She stepped forward and let him embrace her. Kira cried against her father's shoulder while he held her and whispered that everything would be all right. And for the first time in her life, she believed that maybe, just maybe, it would be. 2 weeks passed after Kira learned the truth. The ancient device in the mine had been successfully shut down by specialists, and all the missing colonists were recovered alive. They had no memory of their time under the device's control, which the medical team considered a mercy. Kira spent those 2 weeks in a strange state between her old life and something new. She trained with Jake properly now, learning the combat techniques he had picked up from both human and Valorian traditions. She stopped mocking the human crew members and started actually talking to them as equals. And slowly, painfully, she began to examine all the prejudices she had been taught. It wasn't easy. 25 years of belief didn't disappear overnight. But Kira was nothing if not determined. Then the emergency call came. Commander Ellis assembled the senior staff in the briefing room, his 4 arms gesturing urgently at the holographic display. "We've tracked the source of the ancient devices. There's a hidden base in the Vex Nebula. Intelligence suggests it's operated by a radical Valorian faction." "Valorians?" Kira asked, confused. "Why would Valorians use ancient mind control technology?" "Because these aren't ordinary Valorians," Ellis explained. "They call themselves the Pure Dawn. They believe in absolute Valorian supremacy. They've been abducting colonies to test the ancient technology, planning to use it on a massive scale." Jake leaned forward, studying the display. "If they succeed in deploying this on a large scale, they could control entire planets, make billions of people into mindless servants." "Exactly," Ellis confirmed. "And their leader is someone we know. Commander Vex Thorn, former Valorian military. He was discharged 5 years ago for extremist views. Since then, he's gathered followers and apparently found ancient alien technology to support his cause." Kira felt cold. She had heard of Vex Thorn. He was infamous in Valorian circles for his radical beliefs about species purity. He argued that Valorians should rule the galaxy and that all other species should be enslaved or eliminated. "What's our mission?" Jake asked. "The Starbound Dawn will lead an assault on their base. We need to destroy their ability to deploy these devices and capture Thorn if possible." Ellis looked directly at Kira. "Lieutenant Velmont, you'll be leading the ground assault team. Morrison will be your second." Kira nodded, accepting the responsibility. But inside, she felt uncertain. Could she fight against other Valorians? Would they see her as a traitor? As the briefing ended and people filed out, Jake stayed behind with Kira. "You're worried," he observed. "I'm going to be fighting my own people," Kira said quietly. "Valorians who believe what I used to believe. What if they're right and I'm wrong?" "They're not right," Jake said firmly. "Believing your species is superior and trying to enslave others is never right. You know that now." "Do I? Or am I just confused because I found out I'm part human?" Kira looked at her hands. "What if I'm betraying my heritage by fighting against Valorian supremacy?" Jake took her hands in his. "Kira, listen to me. Your Valorian heritage isn't about supremacy. It's about honor, skill, and strength. Your mother, despite her flaws, taught you the good parts of Valorian culture. The discipline, the warrior's code, the loyalty. Thorn represents the twisted parts, the parts that use strength to harm instead of protect. My mother, Kira said, if this gets out, if people know I fought against Valorians, it could hurt her career. Your mother would want you to do what's right, Jake assured her. I know her. She'd be proud of you for standing up against extremism, even if it costs her politically. The assault began 36 hours later. The starbound Dawn arrived at the Vex Nebula with 2 other coalition ships. The base was hidden inside a massive asteroid, heavily fortified with shields and weapons. Kira led her team of 20 soldiers through a breach in the asteroid's outer shell. They fought through automated defenses and arrived at the main facility. It was enormous, with labs full of ancient devices and holding cells containing prisoners from various species. Free the prisoners and secure the labs, Kira ordered. Morrison and I will find Thorn. They split up, teams moving through the facility with military precision. Kira and Jake pushed deeper into the base, following intelligence that placed Thorn in the command center. They encountered resistance. Valorian soldiers loyal to Thorn attacked with the ferocity Kira's species was famous for. But now she was fighting alongside Jake, and together, they were nearly unstoppable. His human adaptability, combined with her Valorian strength, created a fighting style that caught their opponents off guard. They reached the command center to find Vex Thorn waiting for them. He was a tall Valorian with silver hair and cold purple eyes. He wore military armor, painted with symbols of the pure dawn. Lieutenant Velmont, Thorn said with a sneer. I know your mother, Admiral Lissa Velmont, one of our greatest warriors. I'm sure she'd be disappointed to see you allied with lesser species. My mother taught me honor, Kira replied. Something you've forgotten. Thorn's eyes shifted to Jake. And who is this human pet you've brought? Jake Morrison. Jake introduced himself. Tactical advisor. Recognition dawned in Thorn's eyes. Morrison. Yes, I remember the scandal. The human who corrupted Admiral Lissa. The one who produced an abomination offspring. He looked back at Kira with disgust. It's you. You're the hybrid child. I should have known from your height. You're too short to be pure Valorian. Kira felt the old shame trying to rise up. The instinct to feel less than. To feel wrong. But then, she remembered Jake's words. She remembered her mother's love. She remembered that she was both human and Valorian. And that made her more, not less. I am half human, Kira said clearly, and I'm proud of it. Thorn laughed. Proud? Your contaminated DNA. An accident that should have been terminated. You have no place among true Valorians. Maybe not among your twisted version of Valorians, Kira shot back. But I have a place among those who believe in honor and justice over supremacy and hatred. Big words from an abomination. Thorn drew his weapon. I'll enjoy proving human weakness by killing you and your father both. The fight began instantly. Thorn was skilled, as expected of a former Valorian commander. He moved with deadly precision. His attacks meant to kill. Kira met him head-on, using everything she had learned from both her mother and Jake. Jake fought beside her, covering her blind spots, creating openings for her attacks. They moved in perfect synchronization, father and daughter fighting as one unit. But Thorn was winning. His experience and pure Valorian strength gave him an advantage. He landed a vicious strike on Kira's shoulder, making her drop her weapon. As she stumbled back, Thorn raised his weapon to deliver a killing blow. Jake threw himself between them, taking the strike meant for Kira. He crashed to the ground, blood spreading across his uniform. No! Kira screamed. Something broke inside her. Not broke, she realized. Something opened. All her life, she had tried to suppress her human side. the emotional side. The side that felt too deeply. Now she let it flow through her. Her rage, her love, her determination. All of it mixing with her Valorian training. She attacked Thorn with a fury she had never accessed before. She used Valorian techniques with human unpredictability. She adapted mid-fight in ways pure Valorians couldn't, because humans excelled at rapid adaptation. She drew on emotional strength that Valorians considered weakness, but was actually power. Thorn couldn't keep up. Kira was fighting as a true hybrid now, using the best of both species. She disarmed him, swept his legs, and had him on the ground in seconds. "Yield," she commanded, her weapon at his throat. Thorn spat blood. "I'll never yield to an abomination." "Then you'll go to prison," Kira said coldly. She secured him with restraints and rushed to Jake's side. Jake was badly hurt but conscious. "Did we win?" he asked weakly. "We won," Kira confirmed, pressing her hands to his wound to slow the bleeding. "Medical team is on the way. You're going to be fine. Proud of you," Jake whispered. "You fought like both a Valorian and a human. Perfect balance." "I learned from the best," Kira said, tears streaming down her face. "Both of my parents." Medical teams arrived and stabilized Jake. The assault was successful. They had captured Thorn and his followers, destroyed the ancient devices, and freed all the prisoners. The mission was a complete victory. 3 weeks later, Kira stood in a ceremony room on the starbound Dawn. Commander Ellis was presenting medals to the assault team. When it was Kira's turn, he said something unexpected. "Lieutenant Velmont has not only shown exceptional bravery in combat, but also exceptional growth as an individual. She has proven that strength comes from embracing all parts of ourselves, not denying them. For her service, she is being promoted to captain and will command her own unit." The room erupted in applause. Kira accepted the medal and new rank with pride. In the audience, she could see Jake, recovered from his injuries, clapping enthusiastically. Next to him, on the communication screen, her mother, Admiral Lissa, was watching from Valorian space, tears in her eyes. After the ceremony, Kira found Jake in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. "Captain Velmont," he said with a smile, "has a nice ring to it." "I couldn't have done any of this without you," Kira said, standing beside him. "You taught me that being human isn't weakness. It's strength of a different kind." "You taught me something too," Jake replied. "That love is worth fighting for. Worth waiting for. For 25 years, I thought I had lost you. Now I have a daughter who is braver and better than I ever hoped." Kira took his hand. "I'm forming my new unit. I want you as my first officer." Jake looked surprised. "Are you sure? Having a human as your second might cause problems with some Valorian officers." "Let them have problems," Kira said firmly. "I'm done hiding who I am. I'm the daughter of Admiral Lissa Velmont and Jake Morrison. I'm half Valorian and half human, and I'm going to prove that diversity makes us stronger, not weaker." "Your mother is going to love this," Jake said with a laugh. "Actually," Kira pulled out her communication device. "She already knows. She sent me a message this morning. She's requesting a transfer to neutral space so she can work closer to our operating area. She says it's time our family stopped hiding too." Jake's eyes widened. "She's giving up her position in Valorian space? She says she's done putting career over family. She's ready to face the consequences and be with the people she loves." Kira smiled. "Apparently, I get my stubbornness from both parents." Jake pulled her into a hug. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Kira replied. "Just be my father. That's all I need." They stood together in the observation deck, watching stars streak past as the ship moved through space. Behind them, the door opened, and crew members entered. Humans and Valorians, and dozens of other species, all working together. Kira realized that this was the future she wanted to fight for. Not a galaxy divided by species and prejudice, but one, united by common purpose. She couldn't change everyone's minds about hybrids or interspecies relationships, but she could prove through her actions that strength came from unity, that different cultures and species made each other better. She was Kira Velmont, daughter of 2 warriors, 2 worlds, and 2 species. She was proof that love could transcend biology, that families could be built on choice rather than just blood, and that the best parts of different peoples could combine to create something extraordinary. And she was done apologizing for it. The ship jumped to faster than light speed, carrying them toward new missions and new horizons. Kira stood with her father beside her, ready to face whatever came next. Together, they would show the galaxy that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology or their numbers. It was in their hearts.